Summary of Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson. Introduction. Life is rarely a straight path. It is a labyrinth of twists and turns where we constantly seek what we believe will make us happy. In this seminal work, Dr. Spencer Johnson addresses a universal problem: the paralyzed fear and resistance we feel when the environment around us shifts unexpectedly. Whether in business, relationships, or personal growth, our inability to adapt to change is often the single greatest barrier to our success and peace of mind. Johnson posits a simple yet profound thesis: that change is inevitable, and our success depends not on holding on to the past, but on anticipating change, letting go of fear, and enjoying the adventure of finding something new. We will define the 4 archetypal reactions to change and will explore his findings through the course of this summary. Chapter 1. A Gathering. The narrative begins not in the maze, but in Chicago, where a group of former classmates gathers for lunch after a high school reunion. They are catching up on their lives, discussing the unexpected directions their careers and families have taken. They admit that life turned out differently than they had imagined in school. They speak of the difficulty in coping with the shifts in their industries and personal lives. One classmate, Michael, confesses that he used to be afraid of change until he heard a funny little story that altered how he viewed everything. He explains that the story saved his company and improved his personal life. The group, intrigued by the promise of a new perspective, asks him to share it. This frame story sets the stage, emphasizing that the parable we are about to hear is practical and applicable to real-world adult problems. Chapter 2. The Maze and the Cheese. The story takes place in a maze, representing where we look for what we want in life. There are 4 characters. 2 are mice, named Sniff and Scurry. The other 2 are Littlepeople, beings the size of mice but with human appearances and complex brains, named Hem and Haw. Every day, all 4 characters put on their running shoes and race through the maze looking for cheese. To the mice, cheese is just food. To the little people, cheese is a metaphor for whatever brings happiness and success: a job, money, a relationship, or status. Eventually, they all find a massive supply of their favorite cheese at Cheese Station C. It seems like an endless supply. The mice, Sniff and Scurry, continue their routine daily. They wake up early, race to the station, inspect the area for changes, and keep their running shoes tied around their necks ready for action. Hem and Haw, however, settle in. They move their homes closer to Station C and decorate the walls with sayings. They become comfortable and arrogant, believing the cheese is theirs by right. They put away their running shoes and stop paying attention to their surroundings. They feel secure, not realizing that their security is based on a finite resource that they are blindly consuming. Chapter 3. The Cheese Disappears. One morning, Sniff and Scurry arrive at Station C to find the cheese is gone. They are not surprised. Sniff had noticed the supply was getting smaller, and Scurry had seen it getting older. They do not overanalyze. The situation has changed, so they decide to change. They put on their shoes and immediately head back into the maze to find new cheese. Hem and Haw arrive later. They are shocked. They are unprepared. Hem yells, "Who moved my cheese?" He demands an explanation. They are devastated because their entire identity and happiness were built around this specific cheese. They spend a long time analyzing the injustice of it all. They dig through the walls hoping it's just hidden. They return day after day, getting hungrier and weaker, paralyzed by their refusal to accept reality. They blame external forces rather than looking for a solution. Chapter 4. Facing the Fear. While the mice are already deep in the maze, Hem and Haw continue to suffer at the empty Station C. Haw eventually begins to realize the absurdity of their situation. He asks, "Where are Sniff and Scurry?" suggesting that maybe the mice know something they don't. Hem dismisses this, claiming that as humans they are smarter and entitled to this cheese. Haw begins to laugh at his own fear. He visualizes himself finding new cheese and realizes that the fear of the unknown is keeping him trapped. He tries to convince Hem to leave with him, but Hem is too afraid and comfortable in his misery. He refuses to budge. Haw decides he must go alone. Before he leaves, he writes a thought on the wall for him to see. If you do not change, you can become extinct. Haw finally steps out of the comfort of Station C and back into the dark, confusing maze. Chapter 5. The Journey Through the Maze. Haw's journey is difficult at first. He is weak from hunger and fearful of the dark corners of the maze. However, as he starts moving, he realizes that the anticipation of danger was worse than the reality. He writes another lesson on the wall. What would you do if you were not afraid? As he travels, he finds small bits of cheese here and there, enough to keep him going. He realizes that Sniff and Scurry must have already eaten the cheese in these areas. He learns that he should have been monitoring the situation at Station C more closely. He writes down, "Smell the cheese often so you know when it is getting old." Haw stops to visualize himself finding a mountain of new cheese. This visualization improves his mood and gives him energy. He realizes that letting go of the old cheese was the necessary step to finding new cheese. He is no longer driven by fear, but by the excitement of discovery. He realizes that when you stop being afraid, you feel good. Chapter 6. Finding New Cheese. Haw considers going back to get him, and he does backtrack briefly to share some small bits of new cheese he found. But him rejects the new cheese. He wants the old cheese back. Haw realizes he cannot change him. Him must change himself. Haw pushes forward to the furthest parts of the maze he has ever been to. Finally, he stumbles upon Cheese Station Inn. It is the biggest supply of cheese he has ever seen, with varieties he didn't even know existed. Inside, he finds Sniff and Scurry. Their fat bellies show they have been there for some time. They welcome Haw. Haw takes off his running shoes, but, learning from his mistake, he keeps them around his neck, ready to move again at a moment's notice. He enjoys the new cheese, but remains vigilant. He inspects the supply daily. He has learned that the cheese can move again, and he must be ready. Chapter 7. The Handwriting on the Wall. Reflecting on his journey, Haw thinks about the lessons he learned, which he had written on the walls of the maze during his travels. He compiles them into a summary of insights, which serves as the core philosophy of the book. Change happens. They keep moving the cheese. Anticipate change. Get ready for the cheese to move. Monitor change. Smell the cheese often so you know when it is getting old. Adapt to change quickly. The quicker you let go of old cheese, the sooner you can enjoy new cheese. Change. Move with the cheese. Enjoy the change. Savor the adventure and enjoy the taste of new cheese. Be ready to change quickly and enjoy it again. They keep moving the cheese. Haw realizes that the biggest inhibitor to change lies within oneself, and that nothing gets better until you change. Chapter 8. A Discussion. The narrative returns to the group of former classmates in Chicago. They discuss who they are in the story: Sniff, Scurry, him, or Haw. One classmate realizes he is like him. He has been denying the changes in his business, afraid to let go of a product that is no longer selling. Another identifies with Haw, realizing she needs to visualize a new job rather than fearing the loss of her current one. They discuss the concept that new cheese represents a new relationship, a new way of doing business, or a new perspective. They agree that the him characters in their organizations, those who refuse to adapt, are the biggest liabilities. However, they also discuss that even hims can change if they see the handwriting on the wall, if the vision of the new future is painted clearly enough for them to see it. The group concludes that the story is not just about business, but about letting go of complex human arrogance to embrace the simple, effective adaptability of the mice. They leave the gathering feeling equipped to face the uncertainties of their own lives. Final summary. Ultimately, Spencer Johnson's parable reminds us that while we cannot control the inevitable shifts in our environment, we have absolute control over our reaction to them. By observing small changes early and refusing to be paralyzed by the fear of the unknown, we can transform a crisis into an opportunity for growth. Success is not found in possessing the cheese, but in the courage to run the maze. Move with the cheese and enjoy it.
Thanks for listening. If you found this summary valuable, please like, subscribe, and comment with your thoughts. To support the channel, all links are in the description.